before this story begins, there is something important to understand. The human mind has a strange relationship with silence. When a place is completely quiet, the brain starts filling the emptiness. It imagines sounds that aren't there, movements in the dark, breathing behind a closed door, and sometimes the mind creates something far worse, the feeling that you are not alone, even when every logical part of your brain insists that you are. What you are about to hear is not a ghost story in the traditional sense. There are no ancient curses, no haunted dolls, no dramatic monsters hiding under beds, just a small apartment, a man who lived there, and something that slowly began happening to him. Something subtle, something that didn't make sense at first, something that eventually made him question his own sanity. And the most disturbing part is this. By the time he realized what was really happening, it was already far too late. Ethan moved into the apartment on October 28, 2019. It wasn't a beautiful building, but it was cheap and quiet. And after a recent breakup, cheap was exactly what he needed. The apartment itself was small, a narrow kitchen, a living room with a single window facing a brick wall, and a bedroom just large enough for a bed and a dresser. Nothing about the place felt special. If anything, it felt forgettable, which was perfect. Ethan wanted quiet. He wanted distance from the noise of his previous life. And at first, that's exactly what he got. The first few nights were peaceful. No loud neighbors, no traffic noise, just silence, deep, uninterrupted silence. But by the end of the first week, something strange began happening. Every night at exactly 2:17 a.m., Ethan woke up, not gradually, not because of a noise, but suddenly, like someone had flipped a switch inside his brain. He would open his eyes, stare at the ceiling, and immediately know the time, 2:17 a.m. At first, he assumed it was coincidence. People wake up during the night all the time, but it kept happening, every night, without fail, 2:17, always the same time, always the same sudden feeling of alertness, and always the same strange sensation that someone else was awake in the apartment. Ethan tried to ignore it. Sleep cycles can be strange. The body sometimes develops habits. But one night, something changed. When Ethan woke up at 2:17, he heard a sound, a quiet sound, coming from the kitchen, a slow, dragging noise, like something being gently pulled across the floor. Ethan held his breath. The sound stopped. He sat up in bed. The apartment was silent again. After a few seconds, he laughed quietly to himself. Probably the refrigerator. Old buildings made noises all the time. Pipes expanded, wood shifted. Nothing unusual. He lay back down and eventually fell asleep again. The next night, 2:17, Ethan's eyes opened. The same feeling returned. Someone else was awake. And this time, the sound came again. Dragging, slow, deliberate, from the kitchen. But now there was something else. A soft tapping sound. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps again. Ethan sat up, listening. The tapping continued. 3 slow knocks. Then silence. 3 knocks again. He got out of bed, walked slowly toward the kitchen, and turned on the light. Nothing. Everything looked exactly the same. The sink was empty. The chairs were where he left them. The floor was clear. But something about the room felt wrong. The air felt heavier, as if someone had just left. The next morning, Ethan noticed something he couldn't explain. One of the kitchen chairs had moved, only slightly, just a few inches away from the table. But he knew he hadn't left it like that. He stared at it for a long moment, then shrugged. Maybe he had moved it without noticing. People forget small things all the time. Still, the feeling of unease remained. Over the next few days, the pattern continued. 2:17 a.m. every night, and every night the sounds returned. Dragging, tapping, movement in the kitchen, sometimes in the hallway. But every time Ethan investigated, nothing was there until one night, the sound came from inside the bedroom. Ethan woke suddenly, 2:17, but this time the sound was closer, much closer. Something moved in the darkness near the door, a soft scraping sound. Ethan's heart began to pound. He turned on the bedside lamp. The room was empty, but the bedroom door was open just a few inches, and Ethan knew with absolute certainty he had closed it before going to sleep. From that night forward, things escalated. Objects moved. The bathroom light would turn on by itself. The closet door would slowly open during the night. And sometimes, Ethan would wake up already sitting upright in bed, as if his body had moved on its own, always at the same time. 2:17. The worst part wasn't the sounds. It wasn't the moving objects. It was the feeling, the growing certainty that something was standing somewhere in the apartment, watching him, learning his routines, waiting. But waiting for what? Ethan didn't know. Until the night he made the mistake of checking the security camera. After weeks of strange experiences, Ethan installed a small camera in the living room, mostly to prove to himself that nothing was actually happening. For several nights, the recordings showed nothing unusual. Empty rooms, silent darkness. But on the 10th night, the footage changed. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the bedroom door slowly opened. Ethan walked out, but something about his movements looked wrong. He walked slowly, unnaturally, his head tilted slightly to the side. He crossed the living room, stopped in front of the camera, and stood there, perfectly still, for nearly 10 minutes. Then he walked back into the bedroom and closed the door. Ethan had no memory of this, none at all, but the most disturbing part wasn't his movement, it was his face, because while he stood in front of the camera, he was smiling, a wide, unnatural smile, the kind of smile someone makes when they know something that you don't. Ethan watched the footage over and over, trying to understand what he was seeing. Sleepwalking maybe, stress, but then he noticed something else, something subtle, something almost invisible. During those 10 minutes, Ethan wasn't looking at the camera. He was looking slightly to the side, as if someone was standing there with him. That night, Ethan decided to stay awake. He refused to sleep. He sat in the living room with the lights on, watching the clock. 1:50 a.m., 2:05, 2:16. His heart pounded. The room felt colder. And then the clock changed. 2:17. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Ethan felt it. The overwhelming urge to stand up. Not a thought, not a decision. An impulse, like his body was responding to a silent command. His legs began to move. He tried to resist, but the pressure grew stronger. Stand up, walk to the bedroom, stand in the same place as before. He gripped the couch tightly, sweat forming on his forehead. Then something happened, something that made his blood run cold. From somewhere behind him, a voice whispered, very softly, very close, "You forgot again." Ethan slowly turned his head, but the room was empty. The whisper came again, closer this time. "You always forget." The next morning, Ethan packed his things. He left the apartment immediately, never returned. The building was eventually demolished, but construction workers reported something strange when they entered the bedroom walls. Dozens of small scratch marks, all at the same height, as if someone had been trapped inside the walls, trying to get out. And beneath the scratches, a single sentence carved repeatedly into the wood, over and over again. You forgot again. In March of 2023, the building was finally demolished. That was when workers found something disturbing inside the bedroom wall. For years, the story of Ethan's apartment became nothing more than a local rumor. Most people assumed the scratches in the wall were made by animals, or maybe construction damage. No one thought much about it, until one detail resurfaced during the demolition records. Something small, something that had been overlooked for years. According to the original building plans, the bedroom wall where the scratches were found wasn't supposed to be hollow. It wasn't designed to contain pipes or wiring. There was only one reason the wall had that extra space: a sealed maintenance gap, barely wide enough for a person. When investigators reopened the old construction files, they found an incident report from more than 20 years earlier. On April 12, 1998, a construction worker named Daniel Rocha entered the walls of the building to repair electrical wiring. According to the official report, he never came out. The report said he had quit unexpectedly and never returned to work. But the crew members who worked with him told a different story. They said Daniel had gone into the walls to repair wiring and never came back out. The foreman assumed he had left the job. The walls were sealed, and the building was finished. But if Daniel had never left, then the truth was much worse. It meant someone had been trapped inside those walls for days, maybe longer, scratching, calling for help, slowly losing his mind in the darkness, until eventually he died there. And if the scratches were made by him, then the sentence carved beneath them made far more sense. You forgot again, because every night, Ethan woke up at 2:17, the exact time recorded in the old construction report, the time Daniel Rocha had last been seen entering the wall. And the security footage showed something Ethan himself never noticed. During those 10 minutes, he stood in front of the camera, his head tilted slightly, listening, as if someone was whispering directly into his ear, guiding him, teaching him the routine, helping him remember, because the thing inside the walls had been alone for 20 years. And now it finally had someone who could hear it. Someone who woke up at the exact same moment every night. Someone who kept forgetting, but who always woke up again at 2:17, listening, waiting, and slowly becoming exactly like the man trapped inside the walls. If you know a bizarre or disturbing story, leave it in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. Because sometimes the scariest things are not the ones we see. They are the ones that wait in the dark, patiently, until we remember them again.
If you have a strange experience or a story you can't explain, leave it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. There are many more stories waiting to be told. Until the next video, stay safe.